Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. I'm back with another vlog where I cover drones and a whole lot of other innovations in high tech. These last couple of weeks have been incredibly exciting for nerds like me because so many things have changed in the areas of physics and space travel and drones that it's hard to keep track of it all. So I'm going to cover 4 topics today in this clip, and I hope I provide enough information to spark your interest and your curiosity to go out and do investigation on these topics and connect the dots. And 2 of these topics I'm actually going to spend time doing separate clips on because the technology behind them I think is so groundbreaking that it actually deserves a second clip. So I'll go through 4 different topics today. I want to talk about the incredible SpaceX launch of the Falcon Heavy rocket. I can't tell you how inspiring that is to me as a nerd. It was just an amazing event, and I'm going to go into detail on that in a little bit. The second thing I'll mention is the Olympics. If you guys have watched the Olympics, the opening ceremonies, that Intel Shooting Star drone show that they put on, man, oh man, if the public doesn't understand how beautiful these crafts can be up in the air, I don't know what we can do to convince them. I spent some time with Ken Heron this week, so I'll give you some insight into how that went. I think those are a great bunch of guys. It was a whole lot of fun to be on a show. Got a chance to talk about some emerging technology. And then the last thing I'll get into are the rumors around this Mavic Pro 2 that's coming out in March. And I've got some details on that in my own mind anyway of what I think is coming. And again, I have no insight from DJI. I'm not under NDA or embargo with those guys, so I can talk about anything I want until they finally put me under embargo. So if you're watching DJI, do it now so that I can get some inside information. All right, so let's start off with the SpaceX conversation. So I've been a fan, and my son's been a fan, my family in general has been a fan of Elon Musk for a while. And I think, and I'm a bit of a fandom comment here, but I think that for me, he represents a Tesla kind of a guy or an Edison kind of a guy where they're just bold. They just say, look, I'm going to invent something. You're saying I can't do it. I'm going to spend twice as much time trying to do it. So when you think about it, for a guy to sit down a number of years ago and say, as a kid, I was inspired by the space program, and NASA's kind of dropped the ball on that. We're not really doing a lot in space at this point outside of telescopes and probes and things. So Elon sat down and said, I'm going to build a rocket, and I'm going to build it quickly, and I'm going to build it to go to Mars. Okay, those are kind of bold claims because building a rocket's not something you do in your garage. It takes a lot of time, innovation, engineers. So that was a bold claim to do that, and he did it. He put the Falcon rocket up. I don't know how many times. I've lost count, but the first time he put the Falcon rocket up, I was blown away by it that he got it up in space and was able to launch it and put satellites up there. So good on you, Elon, for doing that. But then when he came out and said, I'm going to build the Falcon Heavy, putting those kind of payloads up in space, again, it's a moon launch, right, to put that kind of stuff up. But he's not shooting for the moon. He's shooting for Mars. So when they announced the Falcon Heavy, everybody was excited about it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Again, I can't stress enough how important an event this was for space travel. And you might think, why do I care about space? Who cares about space? Space is the place that we haven't explored before. So all of the questions we ask as humans, where do we come from? Are we alone? You got to go out there and find it. You're not going to figure that out in a book. You've got to get in a spaceship and fly someplace to find that. So the Falcon Heavy project is really the product that's going to get us into upper space. Now, what was interesting about it was they asked him, what do you think the chances of this first launch going well are? And he said, it might explode on the platform. Like, that's not something you want to hear from the leader of your company. You want a guy to say, oh no, it's going to go flawlessly, and if it blows up, no big deal. He said it might not launch. So I'm rooting like crazy for these guys. So the day of the launch, let me just set the stage for this. If you haven't seen it on YouTube, take the time to watch that launch live, because if you're not inspired by that, man, I don't know if there's anything I can do to help you get inspired. But the story behind it is they wanted to launch this rocket, and he built these Falcon 9 rockets, which have 9 boosters each on them. They flew great. So he thought, we're going to build a heavy lift vehicle. Let's put 3 of those together. We'll just strap them together. But think of the science behind that. He's got to fire off 27 nozzles simultaneously to get the exact boost and trajectory he needs. That would have been enough. Just to lift the thing off the actual platform without it exploding would have been incredible for me. So I'm sitting there watching this thing, and the countdown was delayed a couple of times because of high altitude winds. Finally, they launched the rocket, and it lifts off the platform, and it's beautiful. And it takes off, and it hits altitude where the side boosters drop off and the main booster drops off, and that's enough. So I'm already on the edge of my seat watching this, and I'm choking up watching this because I'm thinking there were probably a million things that could have gone wrong at any stage up to that point. But then to have it lift up and have those 2 side boosters drop off and the main thrusters drop off, that's another critical point. It got past that. So I'm cheering. I'm like, I don't even care if it blows up at this point. This is wonderful. But then as it hits its apex and the nose cone opens up, there on the top of that rocket is a cherry red Tesla from his personal collection because they needed a payload. They could have put bags of sand in there to keep that rocket straight, but he put a Tesla up there. And not only was there a Tesla in the nose cone of that, but there was an astronaut suit with a dummy inside of it with all kinds of sensors on it so you can keep track of acceleration effects on the body and things, in a spacesuit, holding onto the steering wheel with a camera to the side of him, over his shoulder looking at the Earth below, on the dashboard, on the stereo, don't panic. And now I'm in tears. And then he starts playing David Bowie. And I just can't get over the operatic theme of what he did there. It was opera in space for me as a nerd. It was beautiful artistry and involved with the technology. And if that's not enough, and the tears are streaming down my face at this point, if that's not enough, then they cut to another scene, because I forgot to mention, he's the first guy really that's been able to master the fact that those booster rockets typically are discarded, and that's expensive. And he wants to make space, he wants to democratize space to make it easy for people to get up there and put payloads up there. So he's invented boosters that not only launch well, but land back down. And if you've seen one of those launch, they have a drone ship out in the ocean that this thing comes back down and lands on the deck of. Well, this has 3 boosters. So what's going to happen with those boosters? Well, 2 of them come back to Earth, landing legs pop down, and they simultaneously land next to each other within inches of where they expected them to land. So you can tell I'm excited. So that's and at this point, I'm completely out of my mind with this whole launch. It's just incredible the stuff he did. Now, the naysayers out there are going to go, okay, but that center booster missed the boat and they had to scrap it because an engine failed. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I look at the positive aspects of it. 99 and 9/10 of that rocket launch went perfectly well. They lost 1 booster, they'll recover it, no big deal. But for me, any stage of that would have been enough to say, this is the coolest day of my life. Because I'm old enough to remember the first moon landing, or one of the first moon landings. I guess it was, geez, I don't know, 69. I was 11 years old, and I watched it on an old black and white TV, scratchy audio, and just sitting there as a kid, enthralled with the concept of human beings in a rocket, landing on the moon, jumping off that platform, and putting foot on foreign soil. To me, it was so inspirational. And honestly, one of the reasons I became an engineer, because of the hope and the aspirations of being able to do stuff like that. So what I think Elon Musk has done, in addition to proving all the technology that he's got and people not trusting him to put space loads up in space, is he's inspiring a new generation. Because even though I'll never be in space, you'll never be in space, maybe you will, I don't know. The fact that we can go there and the possibilities that brings to the table for us as a species, I think just can't be measured. And I love the fact that young kids are watching this launch. David Bowie's playing on the stereo. There's a Tesla with a robot, with a astronaut in it. It's all good stuff. It's all upside stuff for me. So the young kids watching this that are now in school, wondering what they're going to be and what they want to do, and there's so many bad, negative things on the news and in the world, for you to have something positive like that to look forward to as a kid, you can't measure that kind of inspiration. So for me, again, I'm getting a little choked up talking about it. What a wonderful, wonderful thing. So good on you, SpaceX, for doing that. And again, I know not everything went perfect. In my mind, home run, total home run. All right, so that's the first thing. So enough about the SpaceX launch. Just super, super cool. The second thing I want to talk about was the Olympics. Now, I'm a big fan of the Olympics. My wife and I watch it with the kids when they're home. And, we're watching the opening ceremonies, and I'd heard that they were going to have the Intel Shooting Star drones there. And up to this point, if you don't know what the Shooting Star drones are, it's a drone swarm that was designed by Intel that can actually fly together. It's computer controlled, and they have hundreds of drones in the air, and they have multicolored LEDs in the bottom of them that you can light up, 4,000, 10,000, a million different color combinations, but they fly in patterns. So this computer program can launch them simultaneously and have them form shapes in the sky, letters and things like that. So I was ready for it, but I wasn't ready for it because they launched those drones, 1,218 of those drones simultaneously. Flew up in the sky, did all kinds of patterns in the sky. They did, first of all, the Olympic rings, which when you see that in 3 dimensions in the sky, it's breathtaking. And then they also did a snowboarding guy, like a figure of a snowboarding guy moving like he was flying. And again, the technology behind controlling those drones to get them close enough where they can form a pattern, but not too close where they bump into each other. Again, I don't know how you do it. Again, it's so inspirational to me to see that kind of stuff. And I know that for the general public, again, it was like Martians came down and put that stuff together. So what I like about that is not only the beauty of it and the artistry of it, but it's the sentiment that it puts in front of the public about how up until now, a lot of people think of drones as like a really bad thing and they're scary and they're going to crash and they're spying on me in my backyard. The more they talk about drones in a positive way, whether it be a light show at Disney or this kind of thing at the Olympics, that's better for all of us because we're all flying drones. And if they like drones, they like me. They're not going to give me a hard time about drones. But on the other side of it, the artistic side of it, it's something you've never seen before. It's science as art, just like the SpaceX launch was. It's science as art, and that's a hard thing to imagine. So those two events were enough for me to sort of say, I'm getting a little older. I've probably seen everything I need to see. Those kind of, they hit the mark for me in such a way that I really can't describe the inspiration that they've stirred in me. So those two things were pretty amazing. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Now again, the naysayers are going to go, well, Rick, that really wasn't the drones. They didn't really fly that night. That was a taped thing that they flew earlier and they kind of, spliced it into the Olympics. I know, I get that, right? Again, as an engineer, as a nerd, I want everything to be perfect, but if you haven't seen these drones, they're lightweight drones. They built them to be ultra safe, so there are cages around the propellers, so if it falls, it's not going to hurt somebody. They're made out of light plastic and styrofoam. What do you think happens when you put a light styrofoam drone up in 40-mile-an-hour winds in a mountainous country like South Korea is? You can't control them. So there are certain conditions they can't launch the drones. It doesn't diminish the fact that the technology works, that they did a phenomenal job programming them, and putting those beautiful figures up in the sky that just blew everybody away. So again, good on you, Intel. I think that technology around swarming drones in particular could be a very cool thing to watch over the next couple of years. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are careers that are being started in college now to program that type of technology in a three-dimensional space around drones. So if you're young and you're going into college looking at that, especially if you're an artistic person, you've got an engineering bent, it might be a good place for you to check out. All right, so enough about that. Third thing I want to talk about is the Ken Heron show. Friends with Ken Heron. He had a really bad accident a couple of weeks ago. Thank God he survived that okay. Banged up pretty good, but he's recovering. He has a show he does every Thursday night, and he's asked me a couple of times to be on there, and I've just had conflicts with my schedule. But I like him a lot. He's a fun guy, and his sidekick Dana and all the people that are on that show are just easygoing people. They fly drones. They're fans of the hobby. They're, I think, great ambassadors for the hobby as well. So he asked me to be on the show, and I got a chance to dial in this week. And I talked a little bit about what I think's coming with the Phantom 5, what I think's happening with the brand new Mavic Pro 2 that's coming. So if you haven't seen that, I'll put a link below. You can go there and check that out. But again, I'm a huge fan of anybody that's got a positive attitude about our hobby and can promote this in a positive way. And those guys go overboard doing that. And I didn't expect to have as much fun as I did with those guys, but they're a great bunch of guys that had me laughing most of the time I was on there. So again, I'll put a link below. You can check it out. If you haven't subbed his channel, go over there and sub his channel. He's a great guy and a great ambassador for the hobby in a lot of ways. Last thing I'll talk about is the Mavic Pro 2 rumors. This is hot and heavy, right? So the Mavic Air just came out. I think it's a great quad. I've been flying it nonstop for the last, 10 days I've had it. I've got a bunch of clips coming on that. I've got a bunch of videos too for, how to show you how the video is and how the pictures are and comparisons. I did a teardown on it. So I've got a lot of raw footage I got to put together in a clip. So expect that to happen over a series of maybe 6 or 10 clips over the next couple of weeks. But back to the Mavic Pro 2. So everybody's rambling on about, oh, the Mavic Pro 2's coming. Wait, don't buy your Mavic Air. Okay, maybe there's a decision to be made between, is the Mavic Pro 2 coming and should I wait and not buy it? Those are two different drones. The Mavic Air and the Mavic Pro 2, from my eyes anyway, are going to be dramatically different markets. They're not the same drone. So the Mavic Air today for $800 gives you an incredibly versatile drone that you can put up tomorrow, fly it, it's stable, it's got great video footage, it'll fly 2.5 miles, it'll do everything you need for $800. Now, I'm not saying that the Mavic Pro 2 is not going to be better. It is going to be better, and I got a bunch of clips coming on talking about what I think might be in that technology, but it's not going to be a cheap drone. I wouldn't be shocked if that Mavic Pro 2 hits the market at $1299, $1499, so it's going to be around where the Phantom product is, because I think the Phantom 5, which will come later in the summer, my estimation, will be $1,700, $1,900. So it'll start approaching where the Inspire 2 pricing is. So when you think about that, I've got the Spark down here, I've got the Mavic Air in the middle at $800, and I may have a Mavic Pro 2 coming out at $1,400 or $1,500. This is still a fantastic quad. So you've got to make the decision for yourself. You know what your budget can afford, but the Mavic Pro 2 is coming. I'm completely convinced you'll see a Mavic Pro 2 launch in March, somewhere in March. And I say that because we've got this Autel product coming, the Evo, which Autel's been flirting with. I showed you some clips from CES about it. They're talking about it launching in April. And if you guys remember what happened when the Mavic hit, it was right when the Karma was announced. So DJI saw that Karma. I'm sure the Mavic Pro was ready to go, but wasn't quite ready to go. And they saw that Karma come out and they said, oh my gosh, we got to compete. They launched that Mavic Pro and it captured the market, completely decimated the sales of what that Karma product could do. They're going to do the exact same thing with the Autel Evo. So if the Evo comes out, my recommendations to them in the show, in the booth when I was talking to them was, if you're going to release this Evo and you get a micro 2/3 sensor on it, don't release it. because you've got a product that's already dated. There's no magic in that. You're flying the same distance that the Mavic Pro can fly. Actually, the Mavic Pro can fly twice as far. It's got a micro 2/3 sensor on it. You're not doing anything innovative, so don't release the micro 2/3 sensor for the Evo. The first model you should put out in the street, if I'm you, would be the 1-inch sensor, and that's the race everybody's got in a foldable drone, to build one with a 1-inch sensor. So again, stay tuned because I've got clips coming from the Mavic Pro 2, but I think that 1-inch sensor is table stakes for either of those drones coming out. But that's why I'm saying I think that Mavic 2 will hit in the March timeframe, right in advance of when the Evo hits the street. So this will be kind of an interesting fight between those two guys to see who gets the product out first, because that first mover advantage is going to capture all the coins. So if you're watching DJI and it's March, please invite me to the launch. I love going to those things, so we'll see if I get there. Hopefully we get invited, and I'll have a lot of footage and we'll have some hands-on stuff talking about it. So that was pretty much it for today. I've got a lot more ideas to cover in these kind of clips, and I try to do these fairly freeform. They're just not as polished as my other clips. I don't do as much editing and a lot of graphics and stuff on top of it, but it allows me to get a clip out pretty quickly and cover a lot of really interesting topics in a very short amount of time. So let me know if you like this format, and again, I'm planning on doing a lot of these. Maybe I'll do 2 or 3 a month to keep you up to date on a lot of the innovations around technology. Expect a lot of other clips coming from me over the next couple of weeks. We shot a ton of footage that I'm going to edit down and put some clips together for you guys around the Mavic Air, some comparisons to the Spark. I've got some clips coming for the Mavic Pro, predictions on the Phantom 5, a lot of cool stuff coming. And I've got a bunch of clips still from CES that I haven't got done, so I've been pretty busy. Anyway, thanks an awful lot for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please hit the subscribe button. We got a lot of cool stuff coming. You're not going to want to miss it. And I can't thank you enough for the support you guys have shown us. The channel has grown by leaps and bounds. We have new subscribers hitting every day. I just love the fact that I can sit down at a table, a dumb guy like me, talk about a particular topic. You guys enjoy it. I get great feedback from you. We get good conversations going. That's healthy for all of us because we all get smart together. So that's great. So again, thanks for watching. Until next time, happy flying.